37 minions. Who would have thought?
Mm. Yeah, well,
Uh,
fascinating. Yeah.
we've all been there. Think about this. We've all been there. If you've ever thought of going away to a remote island
Mm.
to get away from the stress and strains of everyday life and live like a recluse for a few years,
Mm.
then the tiny island, which is only the size of two soccer pitches,
Yeah.
called Santa Cruz del Islati,
Mm.
found after a 2-hour boat ride off the Colombian coast in the Caribbean Sea,
Yeah.
is definitely not for you if you want to get away from it all.
Right.
Uh, Unless, of course, you want your world to be shared with with 1,200 neighbours and
Mm.
and growing. From the air, it seems like a small. It seems that the small tin houses were built from the centre of the island
Mm.
to its coast.
Yeah.
If an island the size of two soccer pitches has a coast, I suppose it
Yeah.
does. The island was used 150 years ago by fishermen
Mm.
who used it as a resting place and port of call if the seas got a little bit choppy
Right.
when they were fishing.
Mm.
Then they started building the shelters to help with the if it was raining and stuff like that.
Mm.
Then took the families, and today on this space of two football soccer pitches are 97 houses
Mm.
occupied by 18 families,
Yeah.
large families if you've got 1,200 people there. But then, of course, this is logical because there's nothing else to do on the island except make other neighbours.
Okay.
There are no roads, of course not.
Mm.
However, there is one school, two shops, and a restaurant.
Mm.
Right? Water is sourced through rainfall. The diet, as you can imagine, is mainly seafood.
Mm.
And what power they do get is from one generator for a couple of hours a day.
Okay.
Yeah, there are no Colombian police force
Mm.
because it takes 2 hours to get there by boat. And the beat for the policeman will be over in 10 minutes, and then it's another,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then it's another 2 hours back. Entertainment, they say, is mainly dominoes,
Mm.
dancing,
Mm.
live music.
Mm.
Somebody on there must have a guitar,
Yeah.
and swimming, of course. I mean, this is an island, a small
Yeah.
island,
Yeah. Yeah.
and surprisingly, they say that one of their pastimes is soccer. Now, look, you've got 97 houses on two soccer fields.
Mm.
The, in the streets, there's not even going to be enough space to play marbles. Never mind soccer. You know. But anyway,
Well, yeah.
that's what they say. Um, People leave the island to permanently
Mm.
only when they die.
Yeah.
There's not enough space to bury them on the island. The youngsters, however, are getting itchy feet because
Mm.
they're beginning to think that there's got to be more in life than this.
Mm.
You
Really?
know,
Mm.
well, because you wake up and your neighbour's breathing down your neck. There's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
not there's just not a lot of space.
Mm.
So the future of the island is uncertain because
Mm.
if all the youngsters go away, then
Mm.
they're just going to leave the
Well,
old ones to die off, and there's no
yeah.
continuity.
Well, yeah.
So
Mm.
that was for a long time
Mm.
was considered to be the most densely populated island,
Mm.
or one of the most densely populated islands in the world.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of space. It's only like
No.
19 square meters per person per
Yeah.
you know. But not to be outdone, you
Mm.
know, you would think that it's quite spacious. after I tell you about this next one.
Mm. Okay.
In Africa, on Lake Victoria,
Yeah.
at the border of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania,
Mm.
is the tiny island of Migingo, which is only half an acre.
No, okay.
Now, half an acre is around about half a football field,
Yeah.
right? It's 1/4 of a hectare,
Mm.
to give you an idea. Yeah. And it's home to 500 people. So I reckon that there is just a standing room only.
That's good.
You know,
So,
the population is made up of 80% Kenyan and 20% Ugandan people.
okay.
The island appeared only in 1990
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
the level of Lake Victoria receded and
Okay.
exposed the little
Yeah.
mound. And began being used in 91 when Kenyan fishermen arrived,
Mm.
and in 2004 when the Ugandans appeared. That's when the first
Okay.
Ugandans appeared. There used to be a thriving fishing
Mm.
activity. However, with the rising population
Mm.
in Africa in general,
Yeah.
the fish are becoming fewer in
Yeah.
Lake Victoria
Overfishing. Yeah. Yeah.
because of the pH and
All
also
right.
the pH of the water.
Okay.
You know, the
Yeah.
rubbish and stuff like
The
that.
acidity of the water. Yeah. H
Yeah.
levels. Yeah.
Nile perch in its height was
Yeah.
worth $300 for 2 pounds of the fish.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, unlike its Caribbean counterpart,
Mm.
Migingo is lawless, and the residents suffer from pirates stealing
Mm.
their catch, their fishing catch. What
Mm.
is
Yeah. Being what it is.
motors off the boats, anything that's not nailed down.
Yeah.
Lake Victoria is also considered the most dangerous place to swim. Now, I don't know if that's going to be because of the condition of the water,
Mm.
or if it's because of lead poisoning because of the
Mm.
pirates. You know, you think about
Yeah.
that
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
with the bullets. Okay.
Yeah.
This island, believe it or not, it offers 4 bars.
Mm.
How it's different from the other 4 bar, one beauty salon, uh, a pharmacy,
Yeah.
an open air casino, and several brothels, just to keep the pirates happy, I suppose.
Well, good. Well.
Uh, as the fishing stocks are dwindling due to
Yeah.
overfishing, life is
Yeah.
obviously tight. It's tighter,
Yeah.
and the future of the island is also in doubt. You know,
Mm.
how will they be able to keep going?
Mm.
I'm sure that eventually everybody will leave and just leave the brothels.
Possibly. Well, I don't know.
You know, if we get
Yeah.
some fishermen saying to their wives, "I'm going out to do some fishing. I'll be back in 3 days."
Yeah. Yeah. My mind is just
When
gone a
they,
lot. Yeah.
when they go back with no fish, they'll say, "Yeah, the stocks are dwindled."
Yeah. Might catch some crabs.
Yeah. Ooh, good one. You're vicious today, man. I'll tell you. Right, it's over to you now.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. Overpopulation. I mean, some cultures can survive in close proximity. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. I mean, whole new to me. I mean, no doubt anyone that's listening to this, I'll get the names of Steve and I'll put them in the down below, and you can Google about these places should you choose to have a change of scenery.
You can try and visit the place. I just don't think you'll fit on the island. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, that's it. Not, can't really have tourists. You know, well, maybe the brothels and the I'm not suggesting, brothel holiday or the casinos or yeah.
In the case of Migingo, you'd have to run the gauntlet with the pirates as well, I suppose.
Yeah, adventure holiday. adventure holiday. Yeah. Yeah, it's a yeah, I mean, there are places now, yeah, it's rather interesting when you contrast it with us. I mean, there are towns in the UK, and also in Brazil, where the youngsters are upping and going for opportunities elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, Brazil is a bit strange because it is actually developing quite rapidly in ways that people, even the locals, don't often see it, but we do. With technology, etc. Yeah, youngsters will leave a town or an area to go elsewhere. I mean, in the previous podcast just now, I mentioned Venice. Young people are leaving Venice because there's, from what I understand, because there's very little opportunity for them there. That's in Central Europe. Yeah, that relies on tourism, and even that's killing the place as well. Yeah, it's always interesting when you talk about populations. What happens? It's like you say, this island just suddenly appeared. People inhabited it. A bit of real estate that appears. People move on. I mean, we had that in Brazil with a hillside thing. We've had, I mean, with the in Recife, you get a bit of hillside, and where South America is a bit different from other areas. The main towns have all the expensive place on the flats, and normally the hillsides end up with all the lower income accommodation built on it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't have proper stilts down to the ground and everything else, so some of it gets washed away once a year when the rains come. Yeah, you end up with a property at the bottom, the top, and it ends up as a pile of rubble at the bottom of the hill. Very sad, actually. Yeah, people die in it, unfortunately, and that's realities of where we live, and not only in Recife, other places. Rio as well suffers that. Rio has Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is pretty flat, isn't it? So yeah, it's a population expansion explosion, and it suddenly moves. It just shows you how things can happen in a short space of time. Sometimes it's desperation that have driven people to live on these places, or obviously in the case of the second one, Migingo. People have been driven there possibly to go and live there, economic reasons.
Yeah, they went, like I said, they went there for the fish, for the Nile perch, which at the time, like I said, was $200, I think it was, that I said.
Yeah. So,
no, it's $300 for 2 pounds of the fish.
Yeah, evidently has some value if the pirates are still stealing it, wherever they come from. I mean, if this place is remote, you know, where the pirates coming from? So yeah, do they live on the boats or something? That's an interesting thing. Yeah, nobody's going to care about them because they're a poor community. Yeah, it's not like other places, a Somali pirate issue.
Well, you know, I asked myself if it really is a poor community because it's got 4 bars, a beauty salon,
I was going to say,
an open air casino, and several brothels, not just one.
Well, it sounds like it's been organized. It sounds like it's been run by organised crime. If you don't mind me saying, you know, I don't know. I've only just heard of the place. It sounds like, I mean, normally these places we know from, I mean, okay, people open a bar. But casinos and brothels are normally associated with nefarious activities in certain areas of the world, and even in not so areas of the world. Yeah. So
well, for the brothels, you only need a couple of loose women, and you're done.
Well, I'm not really an expert on it. I've never frequented one.
No, I should imagine.
Yeah. I did have I was a supplier to a brothel at one point in my life for various services, but not what I'm implying here. But yes, there's a story behind it. Trouble is, I must be the only one who actually had a brothel's number in my mobile phone for them to contact me to supply them with things. But
I imagine that when you went there, you dropped your load off. That's really bad.
Actually,
really bad.
I'm going to tell a story. I visited this place, and the first time I did it, and it's to deliver some food there. Okay, and I was greeted by an attractive lady at the door, young lady at the door. Yeah, who smiled at me in a sweetly way. I thought, didn't think the luck was it. I'm married and things here. I then saw some activity, and to show sometimes you don't always register at the time. She was dressed, well, let's just say it's not clothes you'd necessarily walk out in the street with. Not normally, we know some, yeah. Anyway, I went back and made the mistake of telling my wife. Well, whenever this came up for the order, I was quite willing to go there, you know, just to have a look at her, you know. I made the mistake of mentioning it to my wife. So the next time the phone call comes, you know, strange thing there, she came with me. Needless to say, I was no longer allowed to deliver by myself there. Yeah. You know, when you just, you know, okay, I didn't want to do anything, but, you know, it'd just be nice to look at the sights occasionally in different places, you know. But yeah, how stupid was I?